David, Mohan, I want to talk about commercial intelligence. It may be the first time people are hearing this term. So, David, I want you to just break down what we mean by commercial intelligence and specifically what it looks like and what it means for professional service firms.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's start by breaking it down. There are two words in that phrase, commercial and intelligence, right? Intelligence, I think we've talked about a lot, but let's define it. It's the ability to learn and apply knowledge, right? So to deepen our understanding, to learn and then be able to apply to a situation. Now let's turn to the word commercial. Okay. The word commercial, we don't mean to ads on TV.
Those are Super Bowl commercials. Is that what you mean?
Exactly what I was saying it doesn't mean. So the word commercial, right? It is this craft of doing business together, right? It's the economic relationship that exists between two parties, right? When we are in commercial business together, we are transacting with one another. We have a relationship in which there's an exchange of value, right? And so commercial means the procurement and development of goods and then the marketing and sales of those goods, right? It's the core activities of business. To perform commercial activities is to produce and then go exchange for value. Okay. And so when we're talking about commercial intelligence, we're talking about going deep into and really learning and understand about the inherent relationship that exists, that economic relationship between two parties, that we can then take that knowledge and apply it in order to improve that commercial relationship, in order to improve the value of the economics that are traded back and forth. Okay, so at the core, that's what those two words mean. Now, you put it together, we say we are building a commercial intelligence platform. The commercial intelligence platform that we are building is one specifically for B2B service organizations, professional service organizations that, unlike so many other commercial businesses, they are relational in nature. They don't have a bunch of transactions where I can do a bunch of algorithmic data analysis in order to understand all these transactions flying back and forth, right? That kind of math is actually kind of easy. We've been doing it for years and years and years. What these professional service organizations have, managed services businesses, any service business that's highly dependent on people, they have relationships. And these relationships are full of, what's the exhaust of a relationship? What are we doing right here? We're having a conversation, right? So it's full of natural language. And so, unfortunately, these professional service organizations think all the time, I don't really have transactional data. I don't have operational data I can use to drive my business. Well, in fact, you do, because you have all this communication, all this information flowing through the enterprise. Just historically, we haven't been able to digest it all in order to learn and apply what we learn to strengthen the commercial business. Guess what? Now we do. We have the ability to do it because artificial intelligence has been able to figure out how to learn and apply based on natural language, not just based on discrete data points that are structured data, right? And so what we're doing is we're building a commercial intelligence platform that helps B2B professional service organizations to understand the very nature of the economic relationship that they have with their customers so that they can score it, really understand how healthy it is. And by health, we mean the propensity for that economic relationship to sustain and grow over time. That's how healthy it is. And then they can actually apply that knowledge because we provide those recommendations, those insights that actually lead to the next best action. So that's what we mean by commercial intelligence, and that's how it sits at the core of what we're building as a commercial intelligence platform.
In the past, when we've used a commercial, we would use what are the commercial terms to mean what was in the contract, right? When now we talk about commercial intelligence, it's obviously you're alluding to something deeper. What are sort of the strands that you can pull out? What are the
Yeah.
components of a commercial intelligence?
Yeah. So if you look, one of the things I love to do when you're naming something, and we've recently been looking at like commercial intelligence, is that the right word? And we've really validated that, yes, this is what we mean. I love to just go to the dictionary and say, what does the dictionary say? Right. Well, interesting. The first definition of commercial is not that helpful. It says concerned with or engaged in commerce. Okay, you're using the word in the definition. I don't really like that. But the second definition is actually right on: making or intended to make a profit, right? And so that begins to give you a really good sense of what we're talking about. We're talking about the core of business, where you are developing your value streams to be able to deliver goods or services to your clients, and then you're transacting and selling those in order to produce a profit, which is the fuel of business, right? And that is the essence of what we're talking about. So Mohan, let's take that concept of what does it take to actually produce a profit for business, right? What is this commercial? Let's double click on it and go inside of it. I would propose that there's actually 5 critical components to commercial intelligence. Some of them we do fairly well as an industry. A lot of them we don't even look at just yet, right? So the first one I think is market intelligence. If you start all the way at the front end, you've got to understand market conditions, customer segmentation, competition, trends in the market, right? If you're going to have some sort of offering in market and you want to make profit off of it, you've got to understand the market itself. What are you selling into? The second piece is what I would call revenue intelligence, which I think is probably just a click up from sales intelligence, which most people are aware of. And I'd say revenue intelligence is probably the piece of commercial intelligence that's done the best in industry right now, right? This is really analyzing revenue streams, understanding demand, forecasting growth, and really finding those patterns within your marketing and sales efforts to be able to optimize your marketing and sales, right? And I think on this podcast before we've talked about 6sense. I would say 6sense is a revenue intelligence platform, and they're doing a phenomenal job of leveraging AI to consume all of these data points in the sales pipeline in order to drive great revenue intelligence. And so I think that's the second component of commercial intelligence. You've got market intelligence, you've got revenue intelligence. The third one to me is client intelligence, right? So often we're maniacal about data while we're dealing with prospects, but as soon as we have a customer, especially in these relational businesses, we lose track of what is the relationship, what is the engagement, what is the direction, what's the behavior, what is the satisfaction of that client. And I think really getting to the heart of the client is the next component of commercial intelligence. You want a great commercial intelligence, you've got to understand your existing customers, which should be the heart and soul of any business, right? We talk about client centricity, but if you have no data driving that, you're not really client centric, right? And so I think that's the third component. Take a click down from there. I would call it engagement intelligence, maybe delivery intelligence, right? This is really interrogating the service delivery and the alignment of what has been sold to what's actually being delivered. And is it driving the outcomes that you're looking for? What's the effectiveness of solutions for those clients? And so it's not just about the relationship with the client, it's about the engagement itself and the delivery of that service, and whether what the customer thought they were buying is delivering that intended value, right? And so that and the nature of that delivery, not just from the perspective of what's our internal process to do it, but really how it's driving the outcome within the customer would be that fourth level. And then the fifth level for me, the fifth component of commercial intelligence is what I call value stream intelligence. And this is, what are all those internal value streams, those systems, those processes internally that all participate in that customer value proposition, in participate in delivering value, in driving those engagements, engaging with those customers to market, and looking at those systems and processes. And again, if commercial is all about and related to profit, right? How do you optimize those to make sure you interrogate and understand every single one of those value streams, so you're optimizing those value streams to be effective and great at driving that commercial machine. And so that's how I look at it. And I think we have way over indexed on revenue intelligence, and there's some solutions in market for market intelligence. What we are building at Knownwell ultimately will cover the entire commercial intelligence landscape, but is focused and starting on what I think is actually the most important of commercial intelligence, which is your existing customer. And so that client intelligence, that engagement intelligence, and starting to poke into that value chain intelligence, that's where our product, our platform, is really analyzing all this natural communication and information that exists both between a service provider and the client and in the market, just like open data that exists, consuming all of that to drive greater commercial intelligence for service providers.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I over and over again, sometimes it makes me laugh because a CRM in an organization is a client relationship management. And a lot of times it kind of sits in the hub of the beginning, but it actually has nothing to do with your clients. It's really, it's acquisition. It's top of funnel. But it's interesting how it's like this big void right there in the center of the organization. The thing that should be the most important, there is just a big gap in a lot of organizations. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So when you think about intelligence, and we're moving into this intelligence era, that's where we're coming from, this big gap. How do you think businesses need to think differently about commercial health, their clients, this gap, to really be successful in this like transition? If we think about moving clients into the middle and combining that with this new era of intelligence.
Yeah. Well, I think there's two things that come to my mind immediately around this. The first one is, you've got to look and scratch your head and say why. If a CRM was designed to be customer relationship management, yet it's being used for sales and prospects, not for customers in most situations, right? Top of funnel, like you said, even bottom of funnel, but prospect funnel, right? Not existing clients. Yeah. Why? I think it's because it's really, really hard to discipline individuals, people, to keep data up to date, right? And a CRM is really a system of record, is what it is. Mm-hmm. And so the value that people are required to put in, rarely for the common user that has access to these things, is greater than the value they get out of it. Now, that's not true for the sales operations team. It's not true probably for the CRO, right? It's probably not true for the CMO, but for the common user, for the seller, for the account manager, for even more so the delivery team, right? Like, they're not using it for customer and really understanding this client intelligence, engagement intelligence, value stream intelligence. And that's where the bulk of the organization is spending their time. And so we've really, as an industry, over-indexed on one of the hardest things is to go land new clients. But it's not the most valuable thing. Study after study shows that the most valuable thing is actually serving your existing customers incredibly well and making sure that those value streams deliver the actual value you intend to deliver. And so your engagement, your client intelligence becomes even more important, right? So I think understanding that matters. In the age of intelligence, we have a fundamentally different thing. And this is where being an AI first platform is beneficial to Knownwell, in that we can understand. We've done a lot of early tests in our beta. Get this. We can actually leverage the communications that exist in an organization to come up with a better list of who your clients are than your CRM can tell us. Like, think about how shocking that is, right?
Yeah.
We started off looking at, well, let's get a Salesforce connection and we'll get the list of clients. And that data is so dirty, right? And we can actually do a better job leveraging the communications of the organization to be able to predict that. Like, that's fascinating. So that's where we are now, that we can leverage all of this information that's already flowing in the enterprise. And Courtney, I don't have to have you go update HubSpot. Or Mohan doesn't have to go update Salesforce with, we just won this deal. It's now a customer, right? Because the system, the intelligence can learn and apply knowledge. It learned and applied by seeing the emails go back and forth and the contract gets sent and the customer initiation call. And so we naturally know these things. And I think that's an exciting instant that's going to shift the balance, where we're able to have better systems that inform our relationships and how we drive value to them.
So, David, how do you think, obviously these things get done in some fashion today, right? Probably poorly, right? But it gets done in some fashion. How do you think it gets done today? And when we have these platforms in place, like the one that we're building, how do you think the enterprise of tomorrow would be? Like, give us a flavor of how things might change for our customers when they start using this and using this well. What does it mean to them?
Mohan, if you think about that, if you have this data and information at your fingertips, then you're able to act on it, right? And so the whole premise behind Knownwell is we actually don't have really good operational metrics and insights into how to improve our client relationships in the services industry, right? And so what we're doing is, like, before, it would have been impossible to get an account management team, a delivery team, everybody to go input enough data to be able to capture the breadth of information that we are scoring, summarizing, and then providing insights on, right? You don't have enough time in the day to be able to add every single data point from every single one of those transcriptions and emails and everything, right? So there's not enough data entry you can do. But in a world where the intelligence can devour that and can actually process it better than you and I can, right? In that world, it can connect dots, it can find the signal in the noise, and it can even document every single one of those data points, right? What the AI calls a token, right? Take every single one of those tokens and capture it and provide analysis on it to serve it up, so that all of a sudden, in a world where I think relational means I have no transactional data and I can't do analytics, actually now I have more robust analytics than I've ever had before, right? And we're able to present a holistic view of, this is how strong your commercial relationship is. And most poignantly, not just the results, but then we can go dissect it and say, here's what you should do because of it. So now we are empowering delivery personnel. We're empowering account managers. We're empowering sellers to know your customer, KYC. How many times have we said that? They know it in spades and so much better than they've ever been able to before. And then think how that plays out in professional service organizations. So many professional service organizations are full of practitioners, not consultants, right? Unless you're a true consultancy. And so now we can afford to double down more and more on those craftspeople that are practitioners and exceptional at what they do. And we don't necessarily need them to have that consulting mind of picking up these data signals in order to manage a customer better off of gut, because we actually have operational data that we can empower them with. And it allows those kind of partner level people, the account managers, the client partners that exist, to scale and to be able to do their job more effectively. And, oh, by the way, takes their job and their view and passes it on to the rest of the organization, so that everybody is pulling in the same direction, really working to improve that client relationship. And ultimately, I think that's one of the fundamental problem in professional services is we look at this as not a company initiative, right? But it's a departmental thing, right? Delivery's job is to deliver and to make sure the success is there. And the account managers worry about the relationship. Well, the data shows the exact opposite. This is a one team problem. This is a corporate level problem of it's that holistic, integrated experience of delivering value and outcomes to a client that actually drives retention and growth over time. And so now we can get everybody singing on the same sheet of music, even though not everybody has exposure to every single conversation and not everybody processes it the same way.
So I want to recap the 5 elements of commercial intelligence that we talked about. There's revenue intelligence, market intelligence, client intelligence, engagement intelligence, and value stream intelligence. So I think that's really helpful as you're out there in market thinking about the future of your business and how you're going to engage in the next era of decision intelligence. I think these are really helpful, a really helpful lens to look through. David, Mohan, thank you as always.